Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, in this session we will be discussing about the innovation process that walks at the back of our mind in both conscious and subconscious mind. Another topic that we will cover is design driven innovation. Now, our brain has two compartments. It is well established that the left brain is responsible for cognitive talent and the right brain is responsible for creative talent. So, what we study from childhood and try to acquire by reading books, by learning from peers and seniors, and then we accumulate that in at the left side of the brain. Our sense of reasoning, our talent of reasoning and all that are responsible for cognitive side of the brain, and the creative side of the brain gives us artistic pursuit and anything that is creative, that can be termed as creative. So, usually our academic system in the world per se is focused on cognitive part of the brain, because it's easy to test your cognitive skill. So, in your resume, whatever you write, this is the result of your cognitive sharpening of your brain, how sharp your cognitive part of the brain is. It's not really it does include, but a very small component of your creativity, like suppose you have developed a technology or you have written a book or done something that is out of the box, out of the box thinking. So, that part is slightly less visible in the academic curriculum, because academics normally want that you should read a book and understand, and then in examination you reproduce whatever you have learned. There are other examinations where your creative talents are also tested. Now, other than that, there is another issue about the brain, that is the subconscious side of the brain. It is said that we use only 5% of the brain. Then we should question as to what happens to the other 95% of the brain, and that is actually the subconscious part of the brain. So, consciously we use only 5% of the brain, but then it is definitely true that we actively use the other 95%, but we are not aware that it is getting used. Subconscious mind never sleeps. So, it is always awake. Even when you are sleeping, your subconscious is awake and it is churning many of the thought processes that you have dumped into, maybe your frustration, maybe your happiness, joy, or whatever you are excited about. The subconscious will be churning and then doing exercise and things like that. So, that is the subconscious part of the mind. Now, how the innovation process happens inside the mind. Researchers have shown that the creative process can be thought of as a 5-step processes, meaning there are 5 stages of inventing something or creating something. So, you start by empathizing with something, say some people or a business or a situation. So, empathy gives you or helps you to define the problem that you are trying to find a solution to, and then once you define the problem correctly, then you consciously and subconsciously both you try to germinate ideas as to how to find a solution, and then there is a to and fro traffic between your conscious and subconscious. Sometimes consciously you start thinking, you take a pen and a paper and try to jot down something, some design or something, then you stop doing that and you become engaged with a daily or routine work, but then your subconscious is always trying to find that solution, because the challenge has been given to your subconscious. So, sometimes it may so happen that you get an idea, you recognize that okay, there is a solution. Then comes preparation. Your conscious search for knowledge, like you try to see what is the state of the art by searching here and there, or maybe you search in your cognitive side of the brain, out of your experience, out of your education, out of discussion, out of so many other events that you are part of. You gather so much of knowledge, then you search whether you get any clue as to how to find a solution, and then you incubate that solution in your mind, and at some point of time your thought process eventually comes up with a solution, and there is illumination. You think, wow, or aha, I have got this solution, so I am done, something like that. And then you start prototyping, that is what is verification. Let us discuss one by one. So, expert actually believes that our brain has so many compartments, so many nuggets of knowledge is here and there, and then when you try to give a problem or you encounter a problem, it tries to connect bits of pieces of this knowledge and then conjure up a solution by pooling resources or information or knowledge from different parts of the brain, and then come up with something, and then gradually you come up with a solution. It might appear as if you suddenly got something, but it is not sudden, because in your subconscious things are actually getting churned all the time, almost 24/7. Now, as we give the problem to our subconscious, there is always this back and forth movement, like you time and again you sit with a formally to find a solution, or maybe when you are relaxing you think that, okay, let me think about this problem. That is the conscious thinking. But when you stop thinking and you engage in something else, it is not necessary that your subconscious is not thinking, your subconscious actually is thinking. So, there is always a to and fro motion when you start thinking next time, or maybe suddenly you get an idea, okay, let me try this in some other process, and then suddenly you may actually get some idea. Other than conscious, at the back of your mind, in the subconscious, there is always churning of this knowledge, of this problem, and it tries to find a solution through your cognitive and creative mind. It does back and forth inside your subconscious, among the cognitive and the creative part of the brain, because your cognitive side gives you the experience, the knowledge that you have acquired, and the creative side gives out of the box thinking. So, it kinds of combine them together, and then they try to communicate among themselves and find a solution. This communication is called synaptics. And then sometimes some stimulation happens, and then you find a eureka moment. Eureka, I have got a solution. This eureka comes when your subconscious relays that findings, whatever it finds, sometime it finds and it thinks that perhaps this is a solution, and then it relays back to your conscious mind, and you think that eureka, I have got something, but it is not sudden. It is a continuous process, and then suddenly if your subconscious finds that something is to be communicated, only then it communicates, and then you get the solution. Like, say, when Newton was sitting under the tree and an apple fell, whether it fell on his head or some other place, it is not the first time that Newton saw an apple falling, but he was doing research on gravitational force for maybe a couple of decades, and then suddenly falling an apple, but particular apple actually stimulated or kind of connected his subconscious thought, and whatever knowledge that he was gathering, it kind of triggered that sense that, okay, so gravity means earth is attracting something with gravitational force. Same is with Archimedes, same with Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell was doing an experiment with on a very different context, not really for inventing telephone. His assistant was working on one end of a cable, he was working on the other end of a cable. So, his assistant suddenly pulled something, there was a twang sound on this side, and to the surprise of Graham Bell, he found that this noise has been replicated on the other end. So, that time it was the eureka moment, and he realized that there is a communication through this cable, meaning whatever sound is generated this side, this sound is coming here. It is not sudden. He was doing research for from his childhood, because his mother was deaf and he was passionate about finding something that amplify the sound. So, sound was his research, but then invention of telephone was almost like a byproduct, but then he was thinking for a long time. So, and then this actually happens with the traffic between your cognitive and the creative side, and conscious and subconscious side. Now, this means we can actually communicate with our subconscious explicitly, meaning that we can tell our subconscious that you do this for me. Perhaps there is no empirical evidence per se, but then it is difficult to give an empirical evidence. I will give one, and there may be actually many. Like suppose you go to bed at any point of time in the night, suppose 10, 12 or 1 or 2 or 3, and then suppose you think that you should wake up after 2 hours. Normally we wake up at a particular time, our body has a biological clock, and we know that okay, 6 o'clock is the morning and I am habituated to wake up at 6. Now, suppose you go to bed at 12 and you tell yourself that you have to wake up at 2. Till you sleep, you have to continuously remind yourself that you have to wake up at 2, and suddenly you will wake up and see that the clock actually shows exactly 2 o'clock. So, who is keeping the time and who is awaking you? Perhaps, again I have no documentary evidence, but perhaps your subconscious never sleeps and it keeps the time and it awakes you. Similarly, you can sleep is a nice time to really, because your conscious side is absent, so your subconscious is awake. So, if you have any bad habit whatsoever, suppose in the sleep somebody wets the bed or does whatever, say a bad dream comes in his or her sleep, if that person tells herself or himself that I must not do this in my sleep, chances are very high that that particular night he or she will not have this problem. No medicine is necessary, just one has to tell himself or herself that in my sleep tonight I must not do this. Why this long story is like this? If we can tell ourselves that I need to wake up at 2 o'clock, awake me at 2 o'clock, we can actually tell our subconscious many more things. We can tell our subconscious that I must get rid of some of our bad habits, I must inculcate some of the good habits. We can actually tell this, and our subconscious actually may help us to perform much better than what we perform. We can perhaps improve our brain per se by exercising our subconscious, by consciously telling our subconscious that we need to do this. Then once the idea suddenly is relayed to our conscious, we say, aha, I see, this is the solution. So, whether it is Graham Bell or Marie Curie or say Newton or Archimedes, it was years of research that was actually going both consciously and in subconscious, and suddenly something triggered and they got this aha moment or eureka moment. That is what is illumination. Once you are illuminated, now it is your job. It is not done, because you need lot of experiments to do, because these are all happening in the mind. When you translate that into something tangible, you will find that whatever you thought, even 50% will not go the way you thought. There will be surprises, and most of them nasty surprises. You have to rethink, you have to put the problem back to your brain and then churn it again, and then only some solution will come after repeated trials, after repeated prototyping, repeated validation. It is a tedious process, but unless somebody traverses that path, it is very difficult to really invent something. Our next topic is design driven innovation. Design driven innovation is not really how to innovate, but then design driven innovation gives a new dimension to innovation, meaning a new elements to be added in our innovation process, and that is what is called meaning in a product or service. New meaning that gives users or customers new experience. The present world, even the previously also, people normally look for sense of well-being. So, if you can give something, a product and some features on the product that makes people happy and surprises them positively in the positive sense, they will feel, they will get that aha moment, this product, I just love it. Then what they will do is, they will use that, they will brag upon that ownership of that product to their friends and relatives. They will talk about it in drawing room, in offices, in restaurant, and then people will come to know about that. People will buy that, they will also have the same experience, and then your product will sell more and more, and you will have a loyal fan following. So, experience, new meaning that gives customer new experience can add lot of value. It can give you a strong brand presence. Then when there is a loyal following of a brand, you have pricing power, you can earn more profit, your sales will go on increasing, you can acquire customer without really spending a lot of money. So, overall, by adding or by being able to add new meaning to a product or service that gives new experience, pleasant experience and a sense of well-being, then we have a winning proposition of our startup or say entrepreneurial venture. The meaning that a product or service might have for its user include memories. It invokes the extent and quality of interaction and enjoyment, means people just enjoy that product. So, the way I said that if you really can give meaning to the product, then it becomes likable by customers, and you gain sustainable competitive advantage, and then you sustain the business, a profitable business. The other alternative is to go in a linear path or just technological innovation that helps you to remain ahead of the technology. That is fine, but then giving meaning as well as technology both together is going to give you a leverage, unique leverage that you can leverage and enjoy enormous competitive advantage. Roberto Berganti actually wrote a book by the same title, Design Driven Innovation, and that describes the work of companies including Nest Labs, then Apple, then Yankee Candle, Philips Healthcare, that have created successful businesses by doing exactly this, meaning that giving new meaning to their products, and then they get loyal customer following. So, there are two things. One is radically innovate on technology ground and radically innovate new meaning to your product. So, these two together actually gives the competitive advantage. It has been demonstrated beyond doubt that products with radical meaning that gives experience sustain for a long time, whereas wonderful product that has wonderful features, they are efficient, they are aesthetically nice, but then their life cycle is much shorter compared to those products who gave radically new meaning. Their life is much longer and companies reap benefit out of them for a long time. For example, Yankee Candle. See, candle lost its relevance long time back. We normally do not use candle nowadays, but then and candle costs something like 2 rupees, 3 rupees to 5, 10, 15, 20 rupees or maybe 50 rupees. Look at this candle, it sells for 20,000 rupees in Amazon. Yankee came up with this new idea. They gave new meaning to a candle and customers got new experience. They do not mind paying 20,000 rupees for a candle. First of all, it is a wonderful packaging, wonderful glass jar within which this candle is packaged. Then the candle has different aroma. So, you can buy the aroma that you like. So, you can keep that candle at the corner of your room. After a long day of hard work, you come home, you do not put electric lamp, but you glow this candle lamp and then sit with a soft music, perhaps soft light, soft music. So, perhaps you revitalize your organs and then you are kind of full of energy all over again, something like that. That is the philosophy, and people actually got that experience, that meaning, and that is why people do not mind paying so much of money to buy a candle. So, meaning and experience that helps to earn so much of profit. This is another story that Varganti mentions. Alice bought kettle. Kettle was always there. So, kettle keeps your tea or coffee hot or water, but then this is a different kind of a kettle. It has a bird like plastic attachment at the end of the nozzle. When water will start boiling, steam will come out of the nozzle, and then this bird will create a sound that will sound like a bird whistling. And when this product was launched, it is nothing big, but then people found it a wonderful meaning in the product, something like a kettle, and they had wonderful experience. So, whosoever bought this, they started talking to other people that, I have this kettle and it is a bird kettle and this is wonderful. And then it became almost like a revolution, whereas this plastic costed the company hardly anything, but then they sold millions of these kettles. They are still selling. So, this bit of thing which is not really a feature in that sense, it just gives a new meaning to the product and people get new experience. So, that is how design driven innovation actually helps gaining market acceptance and gaining pricing power as well. Nintendo Wii is another example. In 2006, they came when gaming market was dominated by Microsoft, by Sony, by some of the big names. When Nintendo introduced for the first time in a marketplace that is dominated by only few players, it is very difficult to enter because they will crush any new entrant. But look how Nintendo actually very easily captured a dominant market share when these biggies were there in the marketplace. How they did that? Game is supposed to be a kind of a sedentary activity. When your children is hooked onto your computer screen, they are doing game, they do not even listen to what you say. So, they are hooked onto that mentally, physically, and they have no sense as to what is happening around them, and they do not do any exercise, which is kind of it's not good. There are fatalities who are addicted to games. Now, what Nintendo did at this point of time, they redefined the game altogether. They introduced a game where not only you play a game, but you do exercise. Not only you do exercise, it is a game that you play with others. Like the grandparents can play a game with grandchildren, parents can play with children, or every member in the family can play together. So, game was given a new meaning and it is a new experience for everybody. Now, parents will not tell their children not to play, they will rather tell them, can we play together? Why don't we play? So, a game that was sedentary has become a means of exercise, full of activity, full of togetherness and what not. So, that is what is design driven innovation. It gives new meaning and then you bring radically new meaning into the product. Both technology and meaning, both should be together. Only then your product is going to be a winning product. So, y axis is radical change in technology innovation, x axis is radical change in meaning. Where they intersect is the point one should aim to be. That means that their product should have or adopt the best of the technologies and it must give a new meaning that is radically different compared to whatever is available. Only then your product is going to be a winning product. Now, how to incorporate that design driven innovation or meaning in a product? You have to listen, you have to listen to your customer. Customers cannot tell you that I need this experience, but you have to listen to the customer, get a handle as to what their aspirations are, how they talk, how they eat, how they interact, how they behave, etc., etc., and then you have to gradually understand as to what can give them that surprise, that sense of well-being. This is done by interpreter. Design driven innovation espouses that you should invite people from all walks of life in your design studio, and then let them advise you as to what can be added to this. When Boeing designed a new aeroplane, they invite people from all walks of life. Even there will be doctors, there will be musicians, there will be psychiatrists, there will be what not, all kinds of people. Now, people may say that this is aeroplane, this is all engineering and aeronautics. What a musician will do there, a psychiatrist or a doctor will do there. Plane is flying in the sky, and anybody can feel sky sick or something, or even just the very psychology that I am above the ground and something may happen, and what will happen, this can give depression. So, how you can make the interior in a manner that people will be this kind of things will be prevented. Not only that, if you have to give a new experience, you have to listen to all kinds of people, even some writers, some artists. All people actually can contribute, and eventually a new meaning will come that will give new experience to the people. So, interpreter, these people are called interpreter, and a bunch of them are necessary, not as a regular employees, but they should be invited once in a while, and they should interact with the design team, and then they should brainstorm. Design driven innovation is definitely a strategy. This is slightly different than technology innovation. So, it can be incorporated in both product and service to give new meaning. Product and services resulting out of design driven innovation provides unique, sustainable, competitive advantage, because you have this handle on the mood, on the sense of well-beingness, the sensibilities, the designer's sensibilities all incorporated inside. So, you get a competitive edge. There are some references, the Roberto Verganti, the book is available now. So, if anybody wants, they can lay their hands on that. Thank you very much.